start the recordings. Yay. So, hi, this is our Thursday book launch celebration. And my name is Malika Albrecht. I'm the founding editor of Redheaded Stepchild. Sorry, I just got your message, Connie. No, I do not. I will keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and read the amazing bio. Y'all are in for a treat tonight. I know this is something I've been looking forward to all month. This is a hard month. It's been very hot, and there's been a lot of things that are heavy on our hearts. And I am looking forward to being in the good company of Pam Uschuk. Political activist, wilderness advocate. If you don't already know her, you're about to have your mind blown tonight. Pam has howled out 6 books of poems, including Crazy Love, which was the winner of the 2010 American Book Award. Finding Peaches in the Desert, and her most recent, that's not even most, Blood Flower was one of the book list's notable books in 2015, and her newest collection, the one that we get to listen to tonight, is Refugee. You missed as we were talking, we had a great chats beforehand, and I'm really sorry I wasn't recording, but I'm sure we will circle back around to some of these topics. It is out from Red Hen Press, and I will put a link in directly to order the book. And Pam, if somebody wanted to get an autographed copy, is there a way to do so?
Yes. You can, I'll put my email in the email address in the chat. You could just email me, and for $20, it'll get you the book and postage. And I will I'll be happy to sign it for you. Be absolutely delighted. So let me put my email address there.
Perfect.
And if you don't want an autograph copy, you can get copies from Red Hen Press or your local independent bookstore. I really push independent bookstores because they are the backbone of literature in America. And you can also get it on Amazon. If you get it on Amazon, consider please giving me a review.
That's a very good point, though, because that isn't a way that other people hear about, about books that are out there. So if you're gonna use the Amazon, at least let's make it work for the people that we care about. Cutthroat magazine is also, the link is in there. Pam was saying y'all are at 18 years of running Cutthroat. She's editor-in-chief, a Journal of the Arts and Black Earth Institute fellow, currently in Bayfield, Colorado, and also spends time in Tucson, Arizona. The newest anthology we're excited about, but previous anthologies that Pam has edited included Truth to Power, Writers Respond to the Rhetoric of Hate and Fear. Oh, wow. And that was a fabulous one. And the current one that's coming out that you just sent to the printer is called, again, I can't remember the title.
Through the Ash, New Leaves. And it's an anthology that's devoted to the climate crisis. So we have over 100 authors, including someone who's in the audience right now, and that's Mr. Tizozamak and Joy Harjo, Linda Hogan, Rita Dove, Camille Dungy, J. Drew Lanham. I'm trying to think. I was just Martina Espada, Luis Llorea. Connie Post, also, who is here in the audience today, is in that anthology. It's a fabulous 307, I think it's 78. I think it's 378. I just sent it to the printer today, and it's a fabulous thing. All of the profits from that, because whenever we do an anthology, we do not keep the profits, we donate profits. So we're donating the profits from this one to endangered species groups who work with endangered species. And so we're targeting animals like the grizzly bear, the northern gray wolf, orcas, northern jaguars, and the big cats that can't get across the border now because of the wall. So all kinds of endangered species. And so that's a good thing, right?
It's a beautiful thing.
In my book, Refugee, I'm donating all the profits to the American Cancer Society, and as well as border groups who are helping refugees along our southern border. So so the money doesn't go to me. I'm really happy about that. So I guess, yeah, I am. I have a very odd sense of humor, but thank you for being here, and thank you, Malika, for asking me. I've always been intrigued by the name of your series, the Red-Haired Stepchild, and I thought I've got to read in the Red-Haired Stepchild series. Just such a cool name. And yeah, we're up here in Bayfield, Colorado. I want to thank Michael McDermott, who's also here today. He's the director of Black Earth Institute, and I've been a Black Earth Fellow since 2018. The Black Earth Institute is devoted to addressing social issues through art projects and through spirituality. And it's just a fabulous group. So if you get a chance, go to their website. That's blackearthinstitute.org. So they also run their own journal, and I was an editor there for About Place. So I wanted to start. Excuse me?
That's, I think somebody's got some feedback. Just a reminder to mute other people. And Pam, try again and see if we got feedback.
Oh, I think I'm fine out here. I can't hear anything. Can you hear me? Am I okay? Okay.
You're perfect.
Well, I don't know about perfect, but I want us to start the reading out with a poem for dogs, because I have a brand new puppy and her name is Tallulah, which means leaping water in Choctaw. And we took her down to the river today and she's leapt all over the place. So it's a perfect name for her. She loves the river, Los Pinos River. So dog walk song. And this is for my husband, Bill. Past young aspen and punky old balsa alike, before sunrise unhinges lids from speech, the boy in him walks the dogs to the river, the best part of his day, he says. Autumn river, swiveling to grind the stones of his imagination, carrying ice from the spring that cracks granite at 13,000 feet, where forget-me-nots, blood drops small, breed late, where eagle feeds on voles, and a bull elk swells his thick neck, bugling to mate. Above him, magpies rock the pear tree, shading the grave of the wolf who lopes underground now, grave of his wild white heart gone to the stars. The boy in him laughs at the new pup, shaped like something between a black bear and a buffalo, stumbling and biting through his own leash. The boy in him has given up on restraints, mind careening free as the torrent pouring over boulders, cutting through the park named after eagles, who will return with first snow. The boy in him walks the dogs to this river. He kayaks to his further life, carved from wolf willows of hope, bent by storm and offering themselves supple to wind's knife, whittling hawk song, late wild bloom, shadow swell, deer licked dawn. Second poem is for Malika. And this poem is a poem about horses, and Malika has horses. And we share this love of horses. Actually, this incident took place on land that Val owned up on Vallecito Reservoir, north of here. It's in the right next to the Weminuche Wilderness, which is one of the largest wildernesses in the continental US. Beyond oxygen, cheval, caballo, lochad, horse, each muscle bunched, a boulder of power moving beneath sun-hot skin. Horse sees the world nearly 360 degrees through the largest eyes of any land animal, holds the history of love and wounds in her wide sight, piercing our cerebral fear. At full gallop, horse breathes shallow, the only being who can run beyond oxygen, miles before dropping of a burst heart. Horse completes any landscape, tossing beauty to the sky, mane and lush tail tangling wild as she four steps a waltz around her rearing mate. Give me the huff of a thoroughbred, black legs pumping through loose sod, hackles collapsing the far track's curve, ears tucked back to her own lunging heartbeat, dawn fog smelling of clover and sawdust, the steady chuff of thunder hooves thudding into earth's flesh, the sexual joy of speed, flexed shoulders and thighs gleaming sweat, sweat, sweat to please the slight-boned rider clamped to her back. Or a Mustang galloping over lupine to a sandstone ridge where he bucks, kicks thin air, jerks his head clear of biting flies, the echo of his stampede beating bedrock and dust lodging in his heaving lungs, unsaddled by his lust. He leads his harem along cliff's edge, past a cougar den to sweet grass lining a creek. Alone in high country after my sister died, no longer able to breathe, I stood at an unraveling barbed wire fence and watched a herd of quarter horses race straight at me. 8 horses outweighing me by thousands of pounds. I did not leap away or scream. Go ahead, I said. Their hooves that could easily have split my rib cage and skull stopped inches away. Stretching their necks, the mares read me with nostrils soft as Chinese silk. Feeding them grass, I scratched the long bones of their faces, leaning into my own. Even the yearlings were careful not to bruise my sandaled feet. Their unbearable, gentle muzzles broke through the ulcerated curtain of long grief. We'd known each other all our years. Shooing flies from their eyes, I whispered prayers in satin ears, flicking against my cheeks. Knew then gratitude with no expectation. Love, pungent as rain, rivering gigantic flanks that turned and sauntered into dusk, dissolving the trees. I have several friends who are suffering from cancer right now and chemotherapy, so I want to read a few poems for them. I wanted to, especially, these are for Olivia Garza and for Rosemary Catakalos in San Antonio, who is a wonderful poet also, and Debbie Kirk, a Facebook friend I've never met, but 1 in 3 people will get cancer. A lot of people live with it. A lot of people live with terminal cancer, you know, but we're not pathetic in the least. And so I'm just going to read just a couple of these. The first is Pathology Report after ovarian cancer surgery. Dawn's wound leaks blood. Day's scalpel slices to widen the gap for hysterectomy, to remove all hysterical desire, flesh and mind anesthetized, numb as a tomb. Vacuum tumors, uterus, ovaries, fallopian tubes, omentum's entire gelatinous shield. Suck out cervix is small knot of disease. 4 suspicious signal lymph glands gallant in their defense. Organs of making drawn quick through the slick vaginal mouth, between legs splayed, restrained, tied to the operating table, soaked with blood. What comes last? The useless appendix, faithful observer of 2 miscarriages, collector of bits of skin, hangnails chewed to the quick, indigestible seed husks gnawed after unspeakable loss. Gone now, lying in surgical stainless steel pans. Gone her mind, a nova blown open to particulate matter, piercing sexless dimensions of darkness, as comforting and safe as stars she glides between. She has left her body with its terrible scars. What will she remember years from now as she sits at her morning table, sipping her ration of caffeine, watching wild birds fight over seed, the way she was gutted by strangers who scrubbed her abdomen of every trace of woman, her all too human grief. Still, she is alive, alive. Her scream celebrates the strength to make a fist, to lift her head, rise against the constant throb of absence. The clock of making booms in her chest, asks, what kind of creature will she finally be? Intraperitoneal chemo. Before each infusion, by the way, I wrote this after Emily Dickinson's line about 3 stingy feathers. I stole those words from Emily. Intraperitoneal chemo. Before each infusion, the recipe seems placid, carefully weighed, 7.5 pounds of fluid wrung from platinum, purest of all metals, in a bag hung from the hook, liquid book of the dead above my head. In the treatment room, there is no art, just the stern tilt of the hospital bed, a visitor's steel chair. Even the light is frugal. I remember the scorpion bite, dark as venous blood, clear as the IV needle a nurse stabs through the membrane of the port, sewn onto my lower rib to pour toxins into my emptied womb. It always burns, multiplies thousands of bone splinters, stinging cells, murdering nerves, dulling my mind, my spine alive, a drawn bow aimed at heaven, sprouting agonies, 3 stingy feathers. Green flame. This is a hummingbird poem. Slender as my ring finger, the female hummingbird crashed into plate glass, separating her and me before we could ask each other's name. Green flame. She launched from a dead eucalyptus limb. Almost on impact, she was gone, her needle beak opening twice to speak the abrupt language of her going, taking in the day's rising heat as I took one more scalding breath, horrified by death's velocity, too weak from chemo not to cry for the passage of her emerald shine. I lifted her weightlessness into my palm. Morning doves moaned, whoo, whoo, oh, whoo, while her wings closed against the tiny body. Sky would quick forget, as soon as it would forget mine. I love the pages. They feel velvety. They use really nice paper. I love the smell and feel of books. I don't know. I would hate to have books go out of the world. I had a discussion about that last night on the patio, and I thought, no, we can't get rid of books ever. Oh no. This one's for Olivia, and I don't know if Olivia is able to come today, but Olivia is a friend of mine who also has ovarian cancer that's come back on her. Burnished copper pink, low clouds bunched like sheep driven by dawn wildfire. Friday and Olivia begins chemo. Round 1, Taxol derived from yew trees growing in a rainforest far from the hot bottle fly buzz of Tucson. Round 1 of 4, she steps into the ring, wrists taped, fists up to protect her face. Pathologist Olivia knows her chemistry, tags each dividing cell in her memory, charts the spread of tumors loading her ovaries, knows cancer's terrible spread as it leaps organ by organ, attaches to feed like mushrooms in a warm, damp basement unseen. Olivia knows her science, learns now the hammer of pain, neuropathy stealing her feet. In amped desert heat, her cats craze each day, leaping from scratching pad to couch to chair, to counter, bounding across Saltillo floors, looking for her to play. Their meows rattle double-paned windows as the sun sears through Palo Verde, mesquite. Chemo nurses are always kind. When the needle pops through her port, Olivia closes her eyes, pulls tight the prayer shawl against the hospital chill, feels saline flush her veins. In med school, she learned the names of drugs and their uses, comfort of antacid, steroid hype canceled by Benadryl fog, then Taxol slow burn, scouring, 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 ignoring fear's claws. Olivia leans full into her pain. And then I want to read a poem for my brother. Our brother, John, died of esophageal cancer and way too young. Val and I are the only, we're the remnants of our nuclear family. Hi, Ping. And this is it. So thanks for being here today, Val. Thanks for bringing Ping. Finding a moth dead on the windowsill for John. Astonishing, this cecropia, the color of juniper bark, its thin wings thrust back as if it dove through the stars just to die here. What broke its flight while night froze around its intent? I wait a breath before I touch its final beauty. Wonder if my brother's broad chest thrust up to expel the moth wing of his last breath in the veterans' hospice, where Agent Orange could no longer scar his hands, where napalm could not scald the scalps of children he watched incinerating all his life, so that orphanages called him in dreams, so that he could not bear the slap of moth wings on his porch, beating insistent as the blades of the helicopter he shared with body bags going home. And this is a poem for my sister Val, who is actually one of my great inspirations. She's a very hard worker, not only a construction worker. She can do everything from doing plumbing to installing electric. She built this house that I'm sitting in right now from the ground up, but she's also relentless in pursuing her art. She's a painter and a sculptor and a ceramic artist who does these huge ceramic sculptures. And the cover of my book again. Speaking of angels and ghosts, let me tell you a little background about my family that some of you know and some of you don't know, but we came from an immigrant family, and the dominant culture in our family was our immigrant family. My mom's family was French and English, and they were very proud of having been in this country for a very long time, and they looked down upon my mother marrying my father, who was a Russian immigrant. And so my dad's first language was Russian, and my grandma spoke 6 or 7 languages fluently. She also read in 3 or 4 languages, which I think is even a greater accomplishment. And you know, there was always that pull. And when we were in school, our last name was almost incomprehensible to people because it had so many consonants in it. And people would like, I don't know about Val, but because I'm a little older than Val, but I got called a dirty little Russian potato eater, a pinko, a commie. I didn't even know what a commie was when somebody first called me that, but my cousin taught me how to make a fist, and if anybody did that again, then I was to hit them. And so yeah, that's how my family actually dealt with things. It was the best. But we don't do that anymore, do we, Val? Yeah, we do. Anyway, we still have family in Siberia on the Kamchatka Peninsula near the village of Yakutsk. And so I was going to go there this summer, in my travels to Alaska, but Vladimir Putin put an end to that with his brutal and horrible attack on Ukraine. We have cousins in the Ukraine, we have cousins in Belarus, we have cousins in Russia, and they're killing each other. And so that's a very difficult and painful, painful kind of thing to happen. But I'm very proud of my Ukrainian cousins wherever they are. Speaking of angels and ghosts, my sister erects concrete angels to guard her house. Angels with small icy wings and full breasts, faces fierce as Siberian wind that scoured our grandmothers. Angels androgynous, ghost white as borax, giant warriors preserving tranquility in the old mining town where she creates. My sister doesn't believe in ghosts, kicks superstitions in the teeth, even though her intuition is honed sharp on a fine grindstone passed down from our grandma Anna's genes. She doesn't believe in the blustering of a tyrant who lays down the law, doesn't believe in men explaining the universe. She sculpts beyond what she can see. My father did not believe in churches or priests holding out collection plates, but he believed in God, saw the ghosts of buddies long dead, laughing on his porch under the vast black tidal night when everyone else was asleep. They waved for him to join their wild party. He told no one about this but me. My mother's ghost chased her through the web of her mind-shifting gardens. She howled with the invisible girl in her bedroom, made stone circles in the moonlight of her agony. Her ghost buzzed like bottle flies, terrifying the windowsills of lonely. In the psych hospital, she spoke prophecies divined from desert trees in a voice far beyond me. Guarding our front window, a wooden angel holds her hands to her cheeks. Her mouth, the O in discovery, carved back, turned to gardenia's lounging sexual perfume. I admire the vast intelligence of birds, animals, flowers, and trees, the way wind sculpts sandstone, water that absorbs light from clouds, earth's angels, hands thrust elbow deep in lithe ghosts, articulate, alive. And then two more poems, one sort of short. This one is called Cracking 100 and is for Terry Acevedo, a really good friend of mine in Tucson who worked for many, many years in Head Start and brought back some stories, many stories from the border. But she and I have worked in organizations together and outside of organizations together to fight the building of the border wall and to fight the racism that is so apparent here in this country against not only Chicanic people, but against all people of color. So this is for Terry. Cracking 100. Near the border, preschoolers worry about butterflies. How can they fly over the wall? 20-foot tall, thick steel plates would sear delicate wings. And lizards, miss, how can they get through? Small fingers draw orange wings crashing into steel, lizards hanging their blue heads. Y el tigre, severing ancient migration paths, the wall will ensure the jaguars end. Just after Cinco de Mayo, daytime temps crack the knuckles of 100, 10 degrees above normal. No wall can stop rising heat, the death of coral reefs, or the governor calling for the National Guard to secure the border. In holding cells, children separated from deported parents wait for a future no one can predict. And in the San Joaquin Valley, strawberries and tomatoes rot in fields. Farmers wonder where the pickers have gone. Immaculate in his Armani suit, the president tweets for congressional support to build the wall, calls for a prayer meeting in the Oval Office. You can hear Bible hymns hum behind bulletproof doors across the lush White House lawn, where monarch butterflies, who've migrated all the way from Mexico, land on bright rose petals tended by hands the same color as earth that nourishes them. Gardenias at Easter. It's the last poem. On a January morning after World War II, my mother carried gardenias as she walked the aisle in the small stone Michigan chapel where my love-struck father waited, towering over everyone in her life, including her parents, who warned against a wild Russian immigrant soaked in blood from battles that distanced his blue eyes. 40 years later, I carried gardenias at my own wedding to the dark gypsy poet I could not live without. My longing, a silk canoe that carried me underground, between swampy, impenetrable trees to the orgasmic sea. Gardenias scented my arms, my breasts. Gardenias flame white as Akhmatova's nights outside the Lubyanka, where her husband was shot, her son starved for writing individual ideas. It was the one sure way to murder the poet, Stalin must have believed. To the altar, I carried gardenias, the way I carried my desire, pressed into my chest, their visceral musk becoming my skin, heady as dark chocolate smeared lips. On the early porch, 8 gardenias take the air we breathe. We turn off news of war's imminent jaws. Desert flowers have never seemed so lush. Tongue red penstemon, blue star flowers, the buttery pouts of California poppies, canceling out nuclear weapons. Armadas steaming for Syria, Korea, China, all points east. Easter, and we are drunk on gardenias that resurrect us, that call us back, ecstatic, to the forgotten silk chambers of our desire. Thank you so much.
Holy smokes. That was fabulous. Thank you so very, I mean, we were all putting quotes in the chat section. I think at some point, everybody just went, wow. Did I read that right? Because you could just kind of feel it. If y'all want to unmute and spend a moment just to thank Pam for the gift of her craft, the gift of her passion.
Thank you.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Yay, Pam.
Yeah.
Yay, Pam.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Well,
Beautiful.
thank you all for being here. Thanks for all for listening to me. Yeah, this book is all poetry books. Took about 10 years to write. You know, it's not, they're like any kind of artwork. You work on them and you work on them and you work on them. So I really appreciate you listening to them. Thank you.
Love them. Thank you.
And I think I wanted to circle back to that. I mean, there were a lot of lines that some of us were writing at the same time and posting in the chat section, just going, wow. But, you know, I think that I don't know what to fall in love with more with your work, whether it's the language or the way you just really bring something into focus, like an artist using words, or whether I want to fall in love with the musicality of a poem, or whether I want to like fall in love with the meaning and the way you use metaphor. And I think that for a lot of us, that was kind of the sense of watching someone really make the most of their poem, make the most of their craft, and just skillfully bring it to us, which is awesome. And did other people kind of feel that same way, where it was?
Yeah, but I also like the way Pam brings in also this whole thing about ancestry and the richness of that history, and then ties it into other greater meanings, especially with her focus on you know, nature and wildlife and beauty, and how those kind of both intersect in a really beautiful way.
Yes, that's a perfect way. Do people have questions? We kind of talked about some things ahead of time, you know, and so if people want to like bring that back up, or if you have something that you just are burning to, you know, really a burning desire to ask Pam about her craft, how she approaches the poem.
On the 10 years thing. So talk to me about that 10 years. So it's just like, were you writing them just kind of not knowing that you were building a book, or did you have like something in mind as you were?
No, I never have anything in mind to build a book. I never do.
I don't usually either.
I really don't. I started writing, you know, those poems, the cancer poems, which is a, you know, a big long section in there. I started writing those when I was doing chemo, and
Okay.
even if I could write a line or I could write an image, because I was pretty sick from the chemo itself. It was pretty drastic kind of chemo, and so I started, you know, writing those to save my life, to save my sanity. There's such a thing as chemo brain, and it really is true that your mind, you almost have a little sort of dementia. You can't remember things. You can't remember your own name sometimes, or like like my eyesight would go. I'd be walking down the road and all of a sudden I couldn't see. I just see these kind of shapes all over, or I couldn't hear because this high ringing would happen in my ears, and that was all from the chemo, you know, everything, the bone aches and the whole thing. And everybody that goes through chemo is, you know, it's drastic, especially if you're doing something called like cisplatin, which was what saved my, you know, helped me make it through, but cisplatin destroyed the nerves in the bottom of my feet. So, you know, like I seriously, I got a paddleboard for my birthday, and I can paddleboard, and I'm so happy because I was worried about that, you know, with the neuropathy in the bottom of my feet. But I can do it, and I really love doing it, you know. So I like pushing myself, and I push myself even during cancer. I just push myself to write every day, even if it was junk. And a lot of it was junk, you know, but we do that. And I didn't have anything in mind, Connie. I did. So when our last president was in power for 4 years, it was really difficult.
A horror story,
To say the least, you know, and living so close to the border, you could hear those babies scream. Put in cages. They weren't allowed to be hugged. They couldn't even have a stuffed toy. They were ripped away from their parents, and their parents, can you imagine that? Their parents,
I can't,
were taken just like they were in Dachau, just like they were in Auschwitz. There's no difference. We have concentration camps along the border, and we still have them. We can't ignore that those babies are still locked up. The moms, those young mothers are still locked up. And why? Because they're seeking asylum in our country. They're refugees. They're refugees from terrible violence in their own countries. They're not here to make money. I mean, how much money do you think you're going to make working in a motel? They're here because they can't go back to their country.
Not safe.
They can't go back to their countries. And a lot of our ancestors, you couldn't go back to those countries. It was impossible.
And we have a labor shortage. So it's like really smart. We have a labor shortage, and you won't let people in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my point with that line about the San of Keene Valley, these farmers, Mr. Tazozama talked about that. You know, these people are complaining they don't have anybody to work in the fields. Well, and they don't want to let people into this country. It's just ridiculous.
Well, the other thing I noticed, I hope this is not too bold to say, but, you know, people are a lot more open to having Ukrainian refugees because they have white skin, blue eyes. Honestly, if it's brown skin, whereas a whole other, remember when the Middle East, when all the, you know, the other refugees, oh, if they have brown skin, fear, go away. And we've been much more open to Ukrainian refugees, in my opinion.
Well, absolutely. Racism in this country is systemic, and we haven't gotten rid of it. It's built into our system. And I mean, keeping that critical race theory out of schools is one of the stupid.
It's history. It's not critical race theory. It's history.
Exactly. And it's writing the history, rewriting the history. I just read again the book Bad Indians by Deborah Miranda, which is a tribal history of the coastal peoples of California, of the Mission Indians, who were, of course, Christianized by the Catholic Church. They were brutalized, enslaved, raped, murdered,
Right.
and generations, everything was taken away from their land, their language, everything was taken away from them. And Deborah Miranda has written this incredible memoir called Bad Indians. I highly recommend it.
I have to get that.
He writes history, and I mean RIGHTS, history. With it.
Great. That's right.
I'm putting it in the chat section. What was the last name?
Bad Indians.
Okay.
Kathy, thank you. I see your, yeah, and a lot of people don't want to talk about cancer. You know, when Audre Lorde wrote the cancer journals, I mean, people were not writing about cancer, and it's a touchy subject, especially if the cancer has to do with reproductive organs.
Yeah.
I have a
When
friend-
you said you lost friends, was it because it was in the form of ghosting, like they just disappeared? Was it mostly that? Yeah, I know. When my son was diagnosed with this severe lifelong disability, you find out who your friends are.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. And especially if you're really sick and you're, doing chemo, you want to have company.
Oh, right. Yeah, you don't want to be more alone. I
I'm
would've been
sorry
close
to
to
hear
that.
that, Connie.
Yeah.
I'm sad to hear that, Connie. I'm sorry for
Oh,
you.
yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it is a real bummer.
I think that, that's a thing that does happen, like in crisis and grief and loss and facing, very chronic and acute illness, or having a crisis with your child, or even grief from loss of your parents or your brother, your sister. And a lot of people turn away,
But there's a saying that says, which I agree with, I've been to a bunch of grief seminars, the degree to which you have dealt with your own grief is the degree to which you can deal with others. But if you're avoidant of your own grief and you haven't dealt with it, and other people's stuff reminds you of yours, you're just going to push them away.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And that does reframe it. But at the time, I think a lot
It's
of
still
people-
painful. It doesn't matter what
Still
the reason.
painful,
Yeah,
exactly. Like you can say, okay, that's a
Exactly.
different lens, but it still really
it still
hurts.
hurts. Yeah.
And I did want to say, we knew this about Pam. Pam's, a badass, but Val's a badass too.
Yeah,
If
she
y'all
really
were
is.
paying
Also, can you come to
attention.
my house? Because I need some work done on my house.
Yeah. So I did want to
I'll
go
put it
and
on the
ask
list.
Val a question though. When you hear this poem that Pam wrote, I mean, does it really resonate? Did she really capture aspects of yourself that you enjoy hearing read?
That's a good question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, very much so. The reference to the white sculptures that are now, it was a house I owned, but now it's next to the house I own. I know that's weird. I own both houses. We
Both
own both houses, but reference to those, yeah, she captured that pretty well. That they are guardians. That's what I made them for. And a lot of the sculptures there were meant to be guardians, from any form or whatever form of evil.
Love
Or
it.
whatever form of destructive or unkind behavior that exists, guardians from that. So yeah, she does a good job. Pam is an incredibly good writer and incredibly good poet, and she gives me credit for my work ethic. That's a family thing.
Yeah.
She has a very strong work ethic too. She goes hard all day long and collapses at the end of the day, just like I do. Just like Max does. Just like my dad did.
Yeah, we learned it from him. And this is
And
a
Hi,
picture
Bill.
of Val's
Hello.
guardian.
Hello.
Here's one of Val's angels.
There we
And
go.
this-
Oh,
That's for her. Okay.
There
And
she
on the
is.
back, isn't the blindfolded one on the back?
Yeah, and this was
Oh,
what
I
Bill did after the
I didn't
election.
find
This is after the 2016 election.
I couldn't take it. I had to react with, they were muted. That one looks like it's sitting on a shelf. It's actually full size too.
Oh, wow.
Weird
Yeah,
about
it's
that one.
not
Looks
showing
like
up
it's-
that well on this screen.
Yeah. But so that's more full size.
Yeah, that's it. It
huge.
goes down to her full torso.
Wow.
And they're on
Yeah.
they're
Mine.
probably about, I don't
Oh.
know, 9 foot tall. Pam,
That's
don't you think
9
they're, like,
feet tall. That's
tall or
impressive.
7 foot tall?
Holy
Yeah.
smokes. And
Well,
Connie, it
Bill-
was nice to see you have yours too.
Mine. Yay, yeah.
I read the whole thing, so I've read a lot of the people that are attending. I've read some of your work
That's awesome.
because that's in the
Yeah,
gets
and the
in
Truth to Power.
Cutthroat so often. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
incredible. Ron Fundingland is here today too, and Ron is another artist who we featured a lot in.
Oh, hi, Ron.
And hi, Ron. And he did one of the funniest covers ever. And it's a picture of the presidential podium with a presidential seal and a dead red herring flopped over it.
Oh.
And cover.
Hi, Ron.
Oh, printmaker.
That's fabulous.
Hi, Ron. How you doing?
Fabulous. Does anybody have any questions about any of this that we've talked about? This has been really fun to have a wide range of topics coming up and different perspectives.
It's so interesting. Val and I also, we have so many ethnicities in us, but one of them is Mongolian. And Val, when I don't know how old she was, but maybe 19, 20, she had a tattoo put on her shoulder, and it was a reindeer in a circle that was found on a Mongolian woman in her tomb, right, Val?
Ah,
It was in the steppes of Russia. I don't remember, but she was some sort of royalty because she was buried with horses. It was a National Geographic article, and I thought, ooh, I like that. That's cool.
so it
Hi, Ron.
resonated, and that was before you found out DNA history?
It was from Russia. I knew it was from
Okay.
Russia. It was
Okay.
from her tomb, and she was buried with horses and chariots, and so she was some sort of royalty. And since I'm a queen,
True.
I thought, hey,
A
if
queen
this
who can
world
build her own
is-
castles. So there's a heck of a lot to be said about that.
This has been so fun. This is so fun to talk to
Right?
you.
The horse poem.
Louise is also a cancer survivor.
Yeah, yeah.
Glad
Yeah,
you're here,
and-
Louise.
And I have
Who
to
is-
say,
Oh.
Pam, your poems, I just read an article about how people who have cancer have to reimagine themselves, and they have to, deal with who they become, and there's a big change. But I've never read anything as courageous and honest and raw as what you wrote in those poems. I mean, they're
Thank
just
you.
magnificent. And I think they're a gift
You,
to
Louise.
anyone who goes through any kind of cancer treatment.
I'm hoping it'll give people courage and pride in themselves, and not to be hidden away, not to be isolated, but to know 1 in 3 people in this country will get cancer.
I think 1 in 3 women get breast cancer,
Right, and 1 in 3 women get breast cancer. 1 in 4 women,
or maybe 1 in
1 in
6.
4 men get cancer. 1 in 7 women get ovarian cancer.
Wow, 7?
1 in 7.
Oh,
I gotta
Jesus.
go talk to my
Most of
doctor.
them
I'll
die.
be back.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, it's a really low survival rate.
Well, and it's so hard that's the other thing. It's like pancreatic cancer. It's very hard to detect. So by the time it's found, it's in a late stage.
Yeah, pancreatic cancer is an ugly cancer.
Oof, I know.
True.
Is that what your son had?
No, my son's has disabilities. So has
Oh.
developmental disabilities, but my uncle died of pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
I think Pam also deals with suffering in a constructive way, which is one of my passions to think about,
Mhm.
to turn suffering around into constructive thought and being, into compassion and living in a better way.
I think that's the alchemic transformation that some people are able to do or have worked hard at creating a life and art that reflect this deep passion for living and this true sense that it's a gift.
Well, take your suffering and make it art. I mean, that's, if we can do that, we've.
Yeah, well, I think I'm trying to think of who I am stealing this from, but let us make temples from our scars. Let us make
Oh, yeah, I love
chapels
that.
from our
And then
scars.
William Stafford, I have made a
Yeah.
parachute out of everything broken.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Joey
nice.
Harjo said, we must turn slaughter into food.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's good.
That's why we eat roadkill. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud.
Oh,
Now we're going to ask you back to every Thursday night.
I know. Her second avocation is stand-up comedy.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do that, but I'd like to mix it. I'd like to start a church and be a priestess and preach to people and do stand-up comedy at the same time. I think they
I'll
go together
I'll
well.
come to your church. And now we have music. So you can unmute. I'm going to ask you to unmute with the guitar.
Oh, yay.
Oh, cool.
No,
No,
I promise not to sing along.
What a so I think I've gotten the privilege of being taught by Pam, and I think one of the things that I like her to share is a little bit of the transformation of, like, dedicating to teaching, and I think that was an interesting transformation that I think it's good to hear from her about that.
That's a very
Yeah.
good point. And we did want to mention that Pam will be teaching another workshop, and that's actually, like, I knew of Pam, but we had never like interacted. I've never been able to learn from her. And when she was teaching during the pandemic, I got to take a class, and it was just transformative. It was lovely. And I took it again. And then I was just asking her, when are you doing it again? If you were interested in joining, and really the prompts and the way that the classes run is just invaluable. And it's just nurturing, but it also, she, is precise. She will push you. And these are important, important to be pushed to grow as a poet, as a writer. So if you are interested in getting on her mailing list, please put your email address in the chat section, and I'll make sure to give it to her. And Alessandra said, sacred humor, Val. So, now we have your church.
Sacred. And
Sacred
also, since Mr. Zozamak brought that up, I put my email address, which is probably better, in the chat.
Okay.
And you're welcome to contact me. Teaching is creative. Teaching is creativity. It's like writing a poem on the spot every time. I love the challenge of teaching, because you have to be on constantly. You can't fall asleep. You can't let your mind like drift off somewhere. You have to be right there and focused. It's like Zen. It's like you focus, and then you connect with people and help them create their own art. It's the most energizing thing I can think of. I always come away from classes just, I love it. I'm going to go run 3 miles or something. It really is like food. So yeah,
Perfect.
please write to me, and I'll let you guys know.
Awesome. Yeah. Several people already said, yes, please add me to the Pam fan club and an email list. We did not get to open mic tonight, and I kind of thought we might just relax and enjoy each other's company. I do
the guitar-
apologize.
If we could hear guitar, because I see
That's
a
what
guitar.
I was hoping.
Yeah, I do have an arrangement that I like to share.
Come on, let's hear it. That's awesome.
I wanted to say I have to drop off. I have screamy grandchildren, but Pam, I love you. Your work is fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. And
Bye, Connie.
I talk to you soon.
Love you,
Bye.
Connie.
Love you
Bye.
too, guys. Bye.
Shall we?
Yes, please.
So this is an arrangement of a very popular band song, but it's kind of unusual because and it does touch on current topics, so we'll go with it. We'll let the song talk for itself. And the men who hold high places must be the ones to start to mold a new reality closer to the heart, closer to the heart. The blacksmith and the artist reflected in their art. They forged their creativity closer to the heart, closer to the heart. Philosopher and plowman, each must know his art to sow a new mentality closer to the heart, closer to the heart. Alia Garcia, Jalia Nicole, Silguero Jace Carmelo, Luganos Javier López Nevay Bravo, Rogelio Des Maria Mata, closer to the heart, closer to the heart. Jackie Casares, Jose Flores, Leila Salazar and Eli Garcia, who like Menudo, Maite, Juliana, Miranda, Matia, closer to the heart, closer to the heart. Alexandria Rubio, Alicia Ramirez, Anabel Rodríguez, Eliana Cruz Torres, Amarillo Garza, McKenna Lee Elrod, and the teachers Eva Mirales, Irma Garcia, closer to the heart, closer to the heart. You can be the captain and we will draw the chart, sailing into destiny, closer to the heart, closer to the heart, closer to the heart. If you did that, recognize that's a Rush song.
Yeah, remember it. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
you.
Love Rush. That is the perfect place to say thank y'all for being such a fabulous company today. I enjoyed our community. Pam, knew it would be amazing.
No, thank you, Malika.
Thank
I
you.
love being here. I love seeing you again.
Yes,
Thank you for running this series. It's really important.
We've had a lovely group. It has kept me sane. And Val, I'm going to start calling you up on Thursdays.
I know, right? Just so we can chat, Malika.
Be well, guys. Thank you so much. So glad to see your new puppy too, Pam. Bye, William.
Oh, she's sleeping. I put her to sleep.
I was going to say we wore her out.
Comfortable.
I love
Okay,
that she
Pam, I'll
jumped in
talk
your
to you
lap and
soon.
was saying good, like, hi, mom, hi, mom. Oh, my heavens. Yeah.
There it is.
Say,
Rough dog life.
Yep.
I just wanted to add, as Pam's husband, that marriage to Pam is a steady movement from astonishment to amazement,
Oh,
toughness,
that's-
tenderness, all of it.
I don't know if that's good though.
oh, I love that. I have no doubt that both of y'all have that feeling, that deep amazement and astonishment.
We are constantly amazed.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody,
Bye,
thanks. for
guys.
coming.
Be well.
Thanks for being
Passion wave.
here. I like that.